everyone, welcome back to the channel and to today's video. Now today I wanted to talk about the things that I really don't like about Thailand. But before we get into that, I want to preface the video by saying that I love Thailand. I love living here, wouldn't change it for the world, and I think I'm very fortunate to be able to call Thailand home. But just because I like the place and want to live here, that doesn't mean that you have to like absolutely everything about the place. So I've been thinking of a couple of different things that I don't like about Thailand, trying to think outside the box, not typical things that people think of. And yeah, I wanted to share that in this video. But as a reminder, once again, I do love Thailand, and yeah, 99% of it is amazing. So yeah, please do bear that in mind and don't get upset or triggered like seems to happen in the comments quite often on this channel, but there you go, not to worry. But the first thing that I'm not really 100% fond of in Thailand, and I think many people agree, is the dual pricing system when it comes to national parks and other locations. Now, oftentimes you can go to a tourist attraction or like a theme park or something like that, and there's dual pricing. But if you're an expat, you can show a work permit or a pink ID card or something along those lines. You will get in for the local price, as it should be. But when it comes to certain national parks, you can show them your pink ID, your work permit, and it doesn't matter. You have to be Thai to be able to enter. And for me, I don't really agree with that. I would sort of accept it if I was a tourist living here or coming here for a few weeks, got to pay extra to go in a national park, never mind. But when you live here and pay tax here and exist in the same way as a local would, then I think you should get the normal price. That's one of the things that, as always, I've disliked about Thailand. You learn to live with it by simply not going to anywhere that practices dual pricing. I think that's the only way you can get around it, and that's how I do it. So that's the first thing that I dislike. The second thing that I dislike, now this one is quite elaborate and might not make sense to many people, but I've discussed it before on different channels, and the land situation in Thailand. Now, I don't necessarily care that foreigners can't own land. It should be easy to become Thai, but we'll get to that point later. But one thing I don't like is the vast array of different title deeds that they have in Thailand. Now, I used to live in the Chiang Mai countryside. I used to love living there until about 2 years ago when I had enough and desperately wanted to leave. But one of the original reasons for moving there was the idea of having hopefully, a big piece of land, couldn't belong to me, never mind, and, a small house on it. But when you get there, you realize that, the land doesn't work that way. Now, what I'm meaning is, for example, where I am now in Chiang Mai City, this house that we have here, it's got a full, proper title deed called a No So Si Jo, a full chinote. That's what you want. Certain places, you're going to get a No So Sam Go, which is just as good, but not quite as good, but you can still use it. And then there are worse ones below that. And all the land in the countryside that, I saw, wow, this would be a perfect place for, like a family small farm or a small holding. In rural Chiang Mai, the vast majority of it is all a land called So To Go, which is degraded forestry land. And as a foreigner, obviously you can't own it anyway, but a Thai person cannot simply go and buy the So To Go land and get the paperwork put onto their name. Because how it generally works is a family member will be allocated this particular piece of land, and they're able to pass it down through the generations and not be able to sell it. They can use it for farming and sometimes living, but nothing else. So all the land that's around, the affordable land, the cheap land, it doesn't have proper paperwork. So even though you have a Thai partner who would be able to buy it if it was proper, you can't. It doesn't work. Now, that being said, people in the villages, they do buy and sell this land all the time, but it's based on trust. There's no paperwork to go along with it. And that's one of the things that I personally feel holds Thailand back from many places, is the title deed issue. People who live out in the countryside, they can often have a small, tiny plot of land which has got a proper paperwork where the house is smack bang next to somebody else's house. But their farmland, they've got to drive to, they've got a small plot here and a small plot here. There's, 99% of the chance, especially in the place where I used to live in rural Chiang Mai, it doesn't have a proper paperwork. Therefore, they're not allowed to utilize this land in the same way as people in, for example, Bangkok, who were lucky enough to have family that has a huge piece of land in central Bangkok. proper paperwork, they can utilize it, mortgage it, do business with it. Whereas in rural Thailand, people don't have the same opportunity. So what I would like to see is one particular, or every single plot of land in Thailand should have the same title deed, and there should be restrictions placed on the land, like in this area you can't do this, in this area you can't do that. Similar to the UK, all the land is available for sale, well, some of it not, but it's very different. And that's one thing that threw me off in Thailand in the early days, is the different title deeds, and that's one of the things I hate most about Thailand. Went on that one for quite a long time. But the third thing I hate as well is the disparity between the pricing of basic bog standard Thai food and, you know, reasonable, not fancy, reasonable Western food. You can still often find a plate of street food for 30, 40 baht, but when you want to go for a Western meal, although it's not fancy, it's not substantial, it might be, you know, 6, 7, 8 times the price, where often similar ingredients are used, similar amount of meat is used, and perhaps using potato instead of rice, which is cheap. So I think the markup on, you know, Western food in certain places is a lot higher than it is on Thai street food. And it's not a big thing, but occasionally, you know, you'd just like to be able to, you know, have the food you like without spending 500 baht just for, you know, what you consider to be a basic meal, when you could have a basic Thai meal for, you know, a tenth of the price. That's something as well that I dislike. Another thing, I've touched on this before, is how difficult it is to be naturalized as a Thai citizen, or to even get permanent residence. I've lived in Thailand for 20 years, and basically I'm a glorified tourist. I have to renew my visa year on year, and it gets very jading after a while. I mean, it really does. It really does get, you know, a bit too much. And then I have a work permit as well. That needs renewing every 2 years. Not as bad as the visa, but still every 2 years you've got to go and renew your work permit. And it would just be nice to have some kind of system in place where perhaps you're not going to get the full equal rights, but just okay, you don't need to do your visa anymore situation. So I don't like having to renew my visa every year on the 90-day reports or anything like that. But at the end of the day, I do choose to live in Thailand, and living in Thailand with these restrictions is still far better option than anything else I could potentially come up with. So although I dislike it, I'm not saying that I'm not prepared to do it, because I am, and that's why I'm here. So that's something to bear in mind as well. So that's 4 points we've covered. And yeah, another thing that I, you know, dislike are, this is quite a difficult one to say, but I dislike how dangerous the roads are. But part of me likes how free the roads are. Yeah, I'm very sort of, you know, libertarian minded in that sense, that people should be able to do what they want. But it's awful, you know, coming to the scene of accidents, which you do regularly in Thailand. You never get used to that. Don't like seeing it. But on the other hand, you know, you're more free on the roads than you are in places in the West. And you've got to weigh it up, haven't you? Which one is best? But yeah, I don't like how dangerous it is, but the caveat to that being you are more free, which, you know, someone like me, that counts for an awful lot. Another thing though, the ridiculous car prices. If you want a fancy car, 3, 4, 5, 6 times more, well, no, maybe not 6, but at least 3 times more expensive than it would be, you know, back in England, for example. Now you can get cars that are manufactured in Thailand, but you know, it's just anything that's imported, you know, anything fancy that they don't make in Thailand, huge import taxes. And the dream of having, you know, a really nice car, like you know, manual transmission, BMW M3 or something, manual transmission, it's just not going to happen. It's, you know, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds for, you know, what should be, you know, the same price as, you know, the Ford that you buy, sort of thing, that's one thing I dislike as well, but you put up with it and live with it. That's why I got into bikes more, because you can still have a bike for a reasonable price, but that's one of those things. Another thing, of course, the pollution issue in Thailand, that is a big thing, especially in Chiang Mai. This time of year, the pollution is quite bad. You spend a lot of time indoors with the air purifier on, but again, it's one of those things that it is what it is. You can't really do anything about it apart from move, but I don't want to move, so here I am putting up with it. And yeah, another, I suppose the last point that I wanted to talk about is you know, more to do with a positive and a negative all in one. Now, one positive is, you know, if you own a piece of land in Thailand, you can sort of basically do what you want with it, within reason, but you can do what you want with it. You don't have to seek ridiculous planning permission rules like you do in England, and some lucky guy in England who has the small garden in the right area can sell his garden for a huge amount of money because he's lucky enough to have it. It doesn't work like that in Thailand. But the negatives behind that are having a house with a reasonable sized garden is extremely expensive. Like our house here, for example, about 4 million baht. Very small piece of land, not really much room to swing a cat around, as they say, not really much room to do anything. And coming from somewhere like England, where if you had this house, for example, here on this piece of land for, say, 4 million baht, if the house next door had, quite a lot more land with it, it would be more expensive, but not considerably. Let's say you had double the piece of land here, the house would go from 4 million baht to 7 million baht. The vast majority of it is in land because people can do what they want with it and there are no restrictions in place. So whereby I like the freedom of Thailand to be able to do things, it just means that if you want a house with a garden, yeah, it's going to cost you a lot of money if you want, a reasonable sized garden, because they would be able to build on it if you weren't using it for a garden. So that's something that it takes time to get your head around, and you'd wish that it was slightly different. So that's why you choose to go to the countryside. But you can't go to the countryside because all the land doesn't have proper paperwork, so you can't buy it anyway. And that swings back to the original point I was talking about. But now, to finish this video, as I said, I really do love living in Thailand. I think Thailand is an amazing country. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. I feel very grateful to be able to live here. But I do feel like I'm able to share things I don't like about the place as well. And these are just some of the things that I dislike. Some of them pretty commonplace that many people might have the similar opinions of, but some of them, slightly different that people don't think about unless you've been here, a long time and looked into how things are. But yeah, I think I'm gonna call this one for now. Really appreciate you guys watching. If I could ask you guys to subscribe as well. I want to try and get this channel to 1,000 subscribers. I really appreciate that. Yeah, and catch you in the next one. Cheers guys, and bye for now.